Beautiful mind here. We have this question that comes from calculus. I'm going to do the. All right, greetings, YouTube. Beautiful mind here. We have this question that comes from calculus. I'm going to do the best we can. So it says, consider a rational function that satisfies the following conditions. The limit as x approaches plus or minus infinity is 0. The limit as x approaches 0 is negative infinity. F of 4 equals 0. The limit as x approaches 9 from the left is infinity. The limit as x approaches 9 from the right is negative infinity. Find the factors of the denominator of f corresponding to the vertical asymptotes. Okay, so the vertical asymptotes, that's going to be like where the limit as x approaches a number, then the y is going to tend to plus or minus infinity. So it looks like we got two cases, right? So the limit as x approaches 0 is negative infinity. So that means that as it comes from the left or the right, y tends to negative infinity. So that's one vertical asymptote, right? As x gets closer to 0, y goes to negative infinity. And then as x approaches 9 coming from the left, y goes to positive infinity. As x approaches 9 from the right, y tends to negative infinity, right? So it's namely when x is 0 or when x is 9, we have a vertical asymptote. Let me see. But if we want that in factor form, right, if x is going to be equal to 0, that's just going to be an x by itself. And then if we want 9 to be a factor, that's going to show up as x minus 9, right? So then your factors would be x, comma, in parentheses, x minus 9, right? So those would be the factors of the denominator so that we get those results, those outcomes. Find the factors of the numerator corresponding to the x-intercepts. So the x-intercepts are going to be those values of x that make the numerator 0. Let me see. All right. So then when x is 4, the corresponding y is 0. That's an x-intercept. So then if that were in the numerator, that would show up as what? X minus 4. So it's looking like for the factors for the x-intercept would be x minus 4. The factors for the vertical asymptotes would be x, comma, open parentheses, what was it? X minus 9, close parentheses. Okay. Let's see what else I got. Which of the following must be true? The degree of the numerator and degree of the denominator are equal. Degree of the numerator is greater. The degree of the denominator is greater. I think it's the degree of the denominator is larger than the degree of the numerator, right? So that actually comes. Let me just kind of go ahead and mention the 3-prong test from college algebra for finding horizontal asymptotes. And so basically in that test, what we're doing is comparing the degree of the numerator to the degree of the denominator. And so the first case is when the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator, then your horizontal asymptote is just going to be y equals 0, right? The second case is when the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator. We worked several examples where that was the case. So then the horizontal asymptote is going to be the ratio of your leading coefficients, all right? So that's how we had, we got those numbers. But we kind of did it with the calculus context, right? And then the third scenario is where the degree of the numerator is larger than the degree of the denominator by 1 degree, right? So then that's what's called an oblique, a slant asymptote or oblique asymptote. And so that's where, like in the previous example, we got like y equals 4x. And then, we took the limit and we got positive infinity. But that y equals 4x is the equation of the slant asymptote. So in the long run, our function is going to get closer to the diagonal line. So in this case, we had, one x-intercept? So we had one factor on top and two factors on bottom. So then if we were to expand that out, we would have x squared on bottom and x to the power of 1 on top. So then I would imagine that the degree of the denominator is greater than the degree of the numerator. That's like that case 1 from college algebra. So the horizontal asymptote would be y equals 0. And for those three options, it should be that third one. And then find an equation for f. So there are infinite equations because you can choose an infinite number of leading coefficients, but we're just going to let the leading coefficient be a 1 and basically put those pieces together that we talked about earlier. So it would be something like the top would be x minus 4 in parentheses, and then on bottom we would have x open parentheses x minus 9 close parentheses. And I think that should work there. Okay. I know that was just auditory and I didn't write anything out. If I need to write something out, just let me know. Yeah. So with that, we'll end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, take care. Peace.